Hey everyone, how's it going? It feels great to finally be moving into the new year, especially after the swirling shitstorm of 2016. For now, we can all find solace in our naive anticipations for the next game releases. Oh, do I dread the days when we find out which of these games turned to crap. We'll have to go to that dingy truck stop shithouse in due time. But apart from that, here are my most anticipated game releases of 2017. And if you agree with any of the games on this list, please hit that like button. Let's begin. The first game on the list is not the sequel we were once looking forward to. Rather, it's a reimagining of the original. In this Prey, the player takes on the role of Morgan Yu, a human aboard a space station accompanied by numerous hostile aliens. At the game's start, the player will be able to select certain attributes of Yu, and decisions made by the player will affect elements of the game's story. During the course of the game, the player must collect and use weapons and resources aboard the station to defeat the aliens. Also, the space station itself will be completely continuous rather than having separate levels or missions, and at times requiring the player to return to areas they previously explored. That is actually a little alarming. I just hope we don't get forced to go back and forth a bunch of times. Continuously, the aliens in Prey have an array of special powers that the player character can gain over time. One such as an alien has the ability to mimic everyday items such as a chair. That last aspect of the game really started on my excitement. I know it sounds like a little thing, but I'm very curious to see what each alien can do and to see those abilities we could potentially get. Also, Prey will have to have multiple endings, so I can't wait to see all of them as well. I am a tad concerned, however, about the lack of diverse enemies, as they all kind of look like black masses, but depending on how the devs design them, they could be really unique. Prey will be released sometime during the second quarter of this year. Now for the second game. Alright, call me naive. That's a big point of this video though, to quench my naive thirst for good games this year. I think of DICE's Star Wars Battlefront 1 to be kind of the equivalent of Battlefront from 2004, and if you don't remember, that game didn't really have a lot to it. No space battles, no campaign, far fewer maps, and you couldn't play as heroes. I mean, none of those older ones also had a $60 season pass too, but I severely digress. So really big hope with this next one is the additions and some alterations to better improve the game's longevity. For one, and we can hope for this but don't expect it, for there to be battlefronts, as it were, to take place during the prequel movies. It would be great to see, but with many of the games on this list, we shouldn't expect miracles. Now here's a more realistic expectation. I'm also hoping that there'll be more entirely space battle focused maps, and the ability in those maps to fight on foot and capital ships, instead of just, like the Death Star. The next expectation goes along with the maps again, and I hope that they keep many of the same ones, but alter those same locations, and plus add some more classic ones. Of course, they'll need to add a campaign as well, and try to make it longer than Battlefield 1's. Overall, I at least hope for them to add the same ratio of new stuff for the next Battlefront game, just as much as was added from the 2004 to the 2005 version. That's not too much to ask for, but unfortunately I don't think EA is going to let DICE work on this long enough to give all that much back, but here's to hoping. Alright, so that's pretty much all for Battlefront 2. I don't know when it releases, but I'm guessing it's going to be sometime late this fall. Alright, moving on to the next game. Next is a game coming out pretty soon, and it's one for the PlayStation fanboys to shove down everyone else's throats because only they can play it. Come on, you know it'll happen. A lot. It's already happening. Alright, apart from the reality outside of the game, Horizon Zero Dawn is an absolutely gorgeous open-world RPG that features gigantic dinosaur-like machine creatures. These creatures can be taken down in many different ways to gain various resources. The player can also hack said creatures to turn them into makeshift vehicles. Pretty fucking cool. One thing I really love is this focus scan ability that allows the player to determine the enemy's weakness along with the kind of loot they may drop. That makes it so you don't have to down everything in sight, and along with that, hopefully won't make it feel like you're being forced to farm. Then there's the biggest boast of them all, no loading screens. I mean, of course there's gotta be one at the start of the game, even after the install, but still, I wonder if this game can finally deliver on that promise made so many times before. Everything here is great and all, but will there be enough motivation to continue playing to the end? I haven't gotten much info on the actual leveling progression system or even a storyline, but for one thing we can hope for a very rewarding leveling and upgrading system. Well, duh. Also, the main story apparently will lead the character all across the world, but I see a potential issue there. I don't want the game to drag me around the world on a leash. don't forget this, you should also expect there to be random collectibles to scour the land for, and maybe even rival territories to conquer. And all this got me thinking, I just don't want another Far Cry game with bigger animals to shoot. But I'm confident that Guerrilla Games will do great work for the first open world RPG. Horizon Zero Dawn is one of 2 games on this list that are going to have me finally buy a PS4. Horizon Zero Dawn is out in North America on February 28th. Now for a Microsoft exclusive. I've been waiting me and others have been waiting for Cuphead for over 2 fucking years now. But please, do take all the time you need, Studio MDHR. Well, that's a hard name to remember. Anyway, the art style in this game, and actually, the art style of one more game on this list is 80% of why they're on this list. Like, just look at this game right here. It's the perfect recreation of a 30s cartoon that's also a run-and-gun video game. I mean, think of this too. Take any of your grandparents, or even your parents, sit them in front of this game, and they'll be like, wow, well that's the best 30s cartoon I've never even heard of. Wait, what the hell is this? This is boring. I don't know what's going on. Who are you? Just don't sit them in front of it for long. It's best played, not watched. I mean, I really hope it's best played. It appears to be not much different than the average RNG game, and that could arise some concern. But the game does feature branching level paths in a very cool looking overworld. Players can also parry enemy attacks to gain their own super, and it's local co-op, which is all great. That means the only thing other than the art for Cuphead to lean on is the boss and level designs. From what I've seen, I'm really happy with it, especially the overall difficulty. It looks really hard. Good thing you get infinite lives. Cuphead will be released on Windows and Xbox One in the middle of the year. Oh my word, fucking Microsoft fanboy. More like Microsoft dick. Ha ha ha, clever and original. Yes, it's another Microsoft exclusive. Don't worry, there's another PS4 one in a bit. We actually don't know a whole lot about Crackdown 3 other than it plays very close to that of the original game. And if you're not familiar with Crackdown, you pretty much choose a RoboCop-like superhuman police officer. They can run fast, jump really high, throw shit, and use awesome weapons. The player then has to fight in an open world to regain control of a city from numerous gangs. Add some side missions, collectibles, and that's the basics of Crackdown. Now, just having that same old shit is gonna get real boring real fucking quick. And I have to say, Crackdown 2 really got boring right after I beat it. I didn't want to do any of the side things, nor even wanted to play the game over again. And that kind of worries me about the upcoming release. And I'll admit, I have not played the first one, but people still regard it as a very fun game. That may be because of one big difference. Director of the original game, David Jones, had no input in the second game, but for number 3, he's back to direct. So I'm confident that he will revitalize the fun of the original Crackdown for the new one. Now there's one more thing to mention, and this is really unique. Crackdown 3 will be using Microsoft's cloud computing to create full, real-time destruction for online multiplayer. As you can see, the destruction in Crackdown 3 is fucking fantastic. It is boasted that the cloud computing will provide 20 times more power to the console, but only in online multiplayer. So to clarify, the destruction in single player won't be as great. It's very odd, but it does make sense. Now this means one obvious thing. They better not squander the multiplayer. It needs to be made way more fun than previously, and I feel as though they'll try to do so. I wonder how this game would play in Project Scorpio. Cool. Anywho, Crackdown 3 will be out sometime late this fall. Let me just say, Resident Evil is finally going back in the right direction, especially after this. Resident Evil 1, 2, and 4 were great horror games. Don't know about the third one though. Then they started turning into generic action shooters with almost no horror, no tension, and not even a good atmosphere. Sorry, RE5 was pretty forgettable, and don't even get me started on 6. Resident Evil 7 is a soft reboot of the series as it takes place after the events of 6, but it features an entirely new cast. Also, as plainly seen, the perspective has changed to a full-time first-person view, which was one of the first good decisions. That, and during the demo for Resident Evil 7, there weren't any clown-like flippy karate moves to do, no hordes of zombies to fight, very few resources given, and a darker atmosphere. It just looks to be doing everything right, and it's rightfully building up the hype. Speaking of hype, I do have 2 big concerns, and much like everything that was brought up, I saw it all during the demo. I really hope Resident Evil 7 does not become too much of a weighty trial and error game. I mean weighty as in waiting around. For example, almost every time I failed to get an ending or I just got the same ending, I had to walk through a cutscene on a tape. I mean, well, technically it was a cutscene. And that was if I chose to view that tape, as that would trigger a certain event that would give a certain item. I really hope they find a better way to deal with that, as it really felt like I was being kicked out of the game's immersion. Also, I really don't want to go on a fucking scavenger hunt every time just to get a better ending. I do, however, enjoy the non-linear approaches players have to take, along with thought-provoking decisions that lead to multiple endings. Also, VR support? Another great call to develop with. Let's hope Capcom sees these potential issues and avoids them. Resident Evil 7 comes out at the end of the month. Okay, so this short trailer is all the shit we got for now, so I'll be quick. The first game had very endearing writing and characters with great voice acting. It also had such a gorgeous and expansive world. I have to say, I've played the original game over 2 times now. That doesn't sound like a lot, but I've played the shit out of it those 2 times. In Red Dead Redemption 2, we should expect everything will be back and hopefully bigger and better than ever before. Personally, I'd like to actually be able to do more stupid shit like fish, farm, and other work that can give you money, along with more minigames. I also want a tad more focus on the multiplayer. As a brief comparison, overall GTA 5 was great in some aspects, but the writing wasn't so much. But I know that Rockstar Games will nail this Western once again. You know, I also really gotta give kudos to the game developers, as they made and will make another phenomenal Western game in a time when popular culture doesn't care that much for them, except for Westworld, which, by the way, check that show out if you haven't already. Just give us more of the best of what you got, Rockstar, and everyone will be happy. Lastly, hey, Rob Whitehoff, please come back and play John again, please. You're like way beyond an amazing voice actor. Red Dead Redemption will probably launch this fall. Here we are with the second PS4 exclusive, Dreams. You happy? But hey, this is not a game. Well, it's on a game console, right? With community-generated content that can also be co-op? Yes, it's a game, and I'm sure it will give people the ability to create games within it, just like in Trials Evolution. Now, absolutely no pun intended, but it has always been a dream of mine to see into other people's dreams, or even express my own to the world. Media Molecule has created the first step to doing this by giving the player simple-to-use creation tools to put their dreams on the screen. That isn't all. There is actually a game made by the devs in Dreams as well. Those levels are separated by different segments, also known as dreams, and these dreams are connected by different gateways. Players encounter different puzzles in the game, which must be solved by using the abilities given to you, as well as objects players have retrieved in a dream. Items collected by the players can be used to alter and modify the state of the game's world. So if you're not much of the creative type, then you can play the game and experience other people's dreams. And I'll be honest, when I first saw the trailer at E3, I saw all the things that were possible and I was just amazed. Then that added piano rendition of Row, Row Your Boat at the end, the whole thing gave me a few tears. I just can't wait to see what people create, and I also hope to show the best ones I find on this channel, but don't tell no one. When Dream comes out on an unknown day this year, I will definitely buy a PS4. I just got to the end of writing this and I forgot about Mass Effect Andromeda. Damn it. Alright, don't kill me, but that means it really wasn't one of my most anticipated games of the year. It is notable, however, and that's why it's an honorable mention. Very quickly, this game takes place 600 years after Mass Effect 3. I'm guessing humanity is repopulated and there's a new story, blah blah blah. Andromeda is boasted to have a fully open world galaxy with the ability to explore most of the planets, scavenge the lands, and have NPCs of all sorts, I guess. Basically, it's looking to be the No Man's Sky we all wanted, but this game will actually have an objective, motivations, and an endgame. Jeez, wouldn't that be something? A AAA developer showing an indie developer how it's done? What the fuck is this world coming to? That's not supposed to happen. Alright, let's finish up with this game before I lose my mind. Mass Effect Andromeda comes out on March 21st. Shit, speaking of losing my mind, this next game is a nightmare. Have you ever even seen a game like this before? No, you haven't. When I first saw this, I had nightmares. No fucking joke. It's like H.R. Giger and Zizalzva. These two guys, they made these things. It's almost like these two artists made this game post-mortem. Scorn is being developed by Ebb Software, a Serbian game company. Scorn is an atmospheric first-person horror puzzle adventure game set in a nightmarish universe of odd forms and somber tapestry. Well, that's putting it lightly. The game is designed around the idea of being thrown into the world. Scorn will also feature puzzle elements along with a very minimalistic HUD. In this game, you will be isolated and lost inside a dreamlike world and have to explore the different interconnected regions in a non-linear way. Throughout the game, you'll open up new areas, acquire different skill sets, weapons, various items, all while trying to comprehend the sights presented to you. Just this style and the world is what has me excited and a bit scared to see what the devs came up with. Even if the gameplay isn't that great, which I hope it is, the atmosphere is well enough for me to play it. I know that sounds short-sighted, but geez, I do not care. If you like horror games to any degree, this is a must own. Interestingly, Scorn had 2 failed Kickstarter campaigns in the past, but the game has since found an investor and has thus remained in development. The first part of Scorn is scheduled for release sometime this quarter. Yeah, that's right, there's another part. Now for the most anticipated game of 2017. Like, come on, duh. A new Zelda game without the bullshit motion controls, that's enough to be excited for. Yeah, I know that's retarded just to have one reason. But anyway, the biggest reason is its departure from what most of us fans are used to, and that is definitely needed. For one, it's still open world, but it's said to be about 12 times larger, and I hope they're comparing that to Wind Waker. Then, going back to the original NES game, the player is thrown into the game with very little instruction and is allowed to explore freely at their own pace. In addition to that, Link can now jump and climb most surfaces and can find various items, including weapons, shields, as well as clothing and food that can be eaten or cooked to restore health. Those slacks are looking mighty tasty.
It's still better than Indian food.
Oh.
Weapons will break after excessive use, but many of them also have multiple uses. Of course, we'll also see the return of the Master Sword, as the cover art suggests. Just don't try to fucking break it. Speaking of ancient items, Link will also possess the new Sheikah Slate, which provides players with a map and allows Link to create waypoints and investigate enemy stats. So it's pretty much Link's goddamn smartphone in a Zelda game. By discovering the various runes, the slate can be upgraded with various powers, including creating bombs and even stopping time around objects and enemies. Now that's fucking awesome. Breath of the Wild also has an improved fighting system that focuses even more so on time dodging, parrying, and striking. So yes, for the millionth time, it's like Dark Souls Zelda game. I do, however, have a couple grave concerns. Yeah, that's the right terminology. First, the dungeons that we know are going to be rare to find, and there's going to be much larger of focus on the new, smaller shrines of trials scattered around the world. This may make the whole experience feel less epic than we want it to. Secondly, I just bought a Wii U early last year, and I'm not gonna fork out money for a Switch now. And everything you see here, how the hell is it gonna run on the Wii U? We have no idea. It could be a laggy, shitty mess, and that scares me. If Nintendo can somehow deal with those two issues, Breath of the Wild will be Game of the Year way more so than any on this list. In fact, I'll be doing a review of the Wii U version shortly after the release, later this year, so we'll definitely see. Alright, so that's gonna do it for my most anticipated games of 2017. If you made it this far in the video and haven't done so already, please hit that like button if you enjoyed, share this with your friends, and subscribe for more countdowns, reviews, and commentaries out once a week. By the way, I'm planning on releasing videos on Saturdays from now on after this, so that's a better reason to stay subscribed so you don't miss anything. Alright, have a great one out there.